Good evening. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to another edition of the evening political rumbles. This is Chigozie Inquest TV. I remain the anchor of the program. Welcome and don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget, if you have not done so, don't forget to like our videos. Don't forget to share the videos. By so doing, you will be encouraging us to serve humanity better. We are here to serve you. We are here to bring undiluted and in-depth analysis of the trending issues and also the perspective of an ordinary man on the street on the political happenings and some trending issues. Here this evening we shall be looking at the position of the Attorney General of the Federation to challenge the court's injunction that was given in favor of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra which took place on the 19th of January in Umuahia, Abia State, in Nigerian High Court. What could have informed his position to challenge, of course, or appeal that verdict coming from the Nigerian High Court in favor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and of course the outcome of that court proceedings of verdicts, 1 billion naira was awarded to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for compensation, of course, for the abuse of his fundamental right. And of course, the 28 people who were left dead after the invasion of the Nigerian security outfit. Now, what would have informed the position of the Attorney General to challenge the outcome of such rigorous and elaborate court proceedings, which culminated into what would be perceived as, of course, a social justice, and which, of course, inspires trust on our judicial system. Could Malami have any different perspective, or could he have any information which, of course, is not privy to the public, or he think he could change the position of that court ruling? What time will tell. But we are going to also, there is a trending issues about the Nnamdi Kanu, the indigenous leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, denying or denouncing his membership of such association, which he, of course, founded and which he has given up his, of course, rights, his fundamental freedom or liberty in pursuance of a cause of an ideology which he believes most, of course, for his own people, as a way of total emancipation for his people. How could it be true that just almost when, of course, they have made a very great impact globally and have gained sympathies of so many nations who now understood clearly what they stood for and what they represent? How could it be true that at the nick of time, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra could deny his position as the inviolable leader of the group? Not to say, just to say the least, And we shall also be discussing about who becomes the president of the Nigerian states. Following the recent media glamour across the length and breadth, who wields the power, who occupies the Oval Office, the Astor Rock, comes 2023, could that be feasible? Of course, considering the already troubled system across the length and breadth of this country, there is already a pandemic, of course, engulfing the entire north, west, east, and south. There are so many, of course, positions across the north where you have the bandits, you have the Boko Islamic apologists. Across the southern Nigeria, you have the indigenous people of Biafra, of course, agitating for the restoration of the sovereignty of Biafra state. Down here in the west, you have the Oduduwa, of course, clamoring for the preservation of the Yoruba race by ensuring that, of course, they become a sovereign state. And this and many more shall be coming in no distant time. Okay, you're welcome back. Yes, is it that the Attorney General is indifferent about the plights or the position, the yearnings of the people of the eastern or old eastern region of Nigeria? Could it mean that he is not, of course, uh, following up the recent happenings and the abuse of power by the same, of course, dispensation, which, of course, brought him to fall? Is it that he is not aware that there was a gross violation of the fundamental rights of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the other 28 deceased 28 citizens that was mercilessly murdered as a result of the impunity, of course, expressed by the Nigerian state? Well, what could have informed the position of Malami to, of course, challenge the court ruling on the 19th of January? Could it be that there are other hide and seek game going underground? Could it mean that there are things he forgets to file, of course, against the to counter that position of the court? Well, why could it be that the legal or defense counsel of the Nigerian state could not, of course, make their case or argument with respect to that injunction? Now that the court ruling or the injunction has been given, what could be the way forward? You understand that probably of course, Attorney General must have filed an appeal against that case, but could that be described as an effort in futility? Would that be a system or a way of buying time to, of course, to frustrate the justice that already has been given? Well, time will call. Time, of course, will tell better. Is it that the Nigerian state is afraid of paying of course, the 1 billion naira fine levied against it by its own court? Well, nobody can tell yet, but depending on the next outcome or court sitting, I think if there is any appeal to that, uh, we shall get to know better. But based on, of course, a common man's perspective, I believe that, well, he has the right to, of course, challenge the position of the courts, because he still have the opportunity to appeal as recognized by the Nigerian constitution. But how far would that appeal, of course, the objective of such appeal be realized? Seeing that, of course, the court ruling was very clear, straight, and direct to address, of course, the myriads of injustice and unfairness meted on the people of the southeastern region of the country. That would have been, I think, a warning or a sort of sober reflection for the Attorney General to reconsider its antics and hatred for the Eastern people, rather than, of course, trying to cover his shame in such a, of course, a demeaning manner by trying to unturn the established justice. Well, time will tell. I think the legal guard system, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is also studying whatever appeal to this effect. Well, for me, I believe there is no need for such appeal because it was very clear. There was already a misperception that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu jumped there. But of course, the ruling of the courts has silenced such a position that he was, of course, calling for his life. Otherwise, it's only one who is alive can face the court proceedings. So he has to flee in order to remain alive. And thank God justice was established, and it has gone down in the history of this country that the leader of the indigenous people destroyed the Nigerian state in its own court. I think that could be a way forward for humanity. That could be some sort of relief in, of course, regaining the public perception of the Nigerian legal system. Or could it be just a mere coincidence? Well, time will tell. Coming down to, you had the Legal Defense Council to Nigerian Labyrinth claiming that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu denied his membership of the IPOB. How true could this be? For a man who says he has crossed the Rubicon, and that is a point of no return, how suddenly could he have, of course, going to such extent of denouncing his involvement or his membership of the indigenous people of Biafra? Well, this could be very intriguing, hilarious, and very humorous to see that, but it has been, of course, hitting the media. It has been a trending issue. But I want to draw your attention to this pertinent issue. Mazi, prior to this, of course, even before taking plea, he made, of course, a preliminary objection that he is not a member of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra. That was the position of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He said he is never a member of a terrorist group as perceived of course, by the Nigerian state, that he belongs to a respected organization driven by their common ideology and, of course, their right to self-determination, to decide the future, and, of course, their own fate or through diplomatic engagement, of course, which is not, of course, in any way contradictory to the position of the Nigerian Constitution. Of course, as a member of the United Nations, it is enshrined in the United Nations Charter the right to self-determination, that every group or nation has the right to self-preservation, has the right to identification. They have the right, of course, based on their political, social, or cultural affiliations, to decide, of course, to remain independent, of course, without any interference from other parties, which, of course, must be granted to them. It is part of their fundamental right and politically protected opinion. Of course, by doing that, I don't think that in any way suggests that he denies his position as the leader and a member of the indigenous people of Biafra. But he was very intelligent, of course, to not play to the gallery or not falling into the already ditch that had been dug against him by the Nigerian state. He made it categorically clear that his own IPOB, which of course he funded, is not a terrorist group. They are not known for any terror, of course, attacks. They are people expressing their legitimate rights, the right to freedom, the right to association. They have not engaged the Nigerian state in any gun duel or battle. And you cannot in any way consider a mere, of course, expression of his own opinion about the perspective of the events, of course, happening within the Nigeria to be assumed as a threat to the Nigerian state. He, of course, is acting within the ambit of the laws, stipulated laws of the Nigerian state. Self-determination, I believe, is not a crime as expressed by the Nigerian Constitution. So any crime that is not covered by the Constitution should not be considered as a crime. So one of those fundamental rights of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the right to self-determination. Now, if you claim that IPOB is a terrorist group, across the over 145 countries of the world, the presence of IPOB is fully recorded, is fully, of course, present, and cannot be denied. And out of these countries or nations of the world, none have come up with such proposal either, because they understood clearly that these are freedom fighters. Nnamdi Kanu, of course, is a political prisoner, and those holding him are just prisoners of conscience. You understood that it is not against established or international laws for someone to agitate for secession or for self-determination. So under this premise, I would want to, of course, decipher that what Nigerian state is trying to do is, of course, to distract the public from the position of the court's ruling that already has been established, a way of distracting or circumventing the events. Of course, one of the most and monumental events that took place in the history of Nigeria, that a man who you purportedly claim to be a terrorist drag you to your own court and give you a deadly and devastating blow. What a shame. Could Nigeria ever recover from this calamity, from this national embarrassment? Well, time will tell. Yes, and the next we are going to discuss. Please don't forget to leave your own perspective or comments on the comment section. I would want to know your own, of course, position in respect to these issues I have brought to fore this evening. And in subsequent editions, I will respond to those silent points you may have raised in this edition. Who becomes the Nigerian's next president? Could, of course, the kingmaker, in quotes, finally becomes the president of Nigeria? Or is there any political heavyweights who are waiting for the right time to strike? We did not at this time cede power to the South. With the South, of course, allow a northerner to occupy the seat of power should Nigeria remain beyond 2023. Well, time will tell. In our next edition, of course, we will highlight more on these fundamental issues. What are the indices that may, of course, change the card overnight? Do you think that the Jagaban of Lagos has a better prospect to become the next Nigerian president, considering all the hurdles, of course, he has to surmount to, of course, before he can get to such oval and most lofty position within the country? Or do you think, of course, there could be some surprises springing up across the north, the south? Some, of course, are agitating or clamoring that the eastern people should be given the opportunity as a way of pacifying them, as a way of reintegrating them into, of course, the Nigerian, integrating them into the Nigerian program, into the Nigerian system. Well, time will tell. Until we meet, of course, in the next edition, remain blessed. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like our videos. Don't forget to share it. Good night. God bless you.